Have you ever wondered what the microbes that ferment kimchi look like under the microscope? I have. So that's what we're gonna do today. Welcome back everyone. I'm Robin from This Vlog's Neat, and I made some kimchi a few weeks ago. And I'm gonna do my best to extract some of the juices that are in here so that I can look at what microbes are actually in my kimchi. First, let's talk about kimchi. So, kimchi is a traditional Korean side dish. It's essentially just fermented vegetables, most often cabbage. And the way it's made is by massaging salt into the veggies or the cabbage first. This prevents any spoilage microbes from taking over because they can't really handle that salinity. However, it does allow for lactic acid bacteria to take over the environment because they can handle that salinity. There's also some other spices and things mixed in like that, which we'll talk about later. But the result is this nice, sour, spicy, fermented, and very well preserved vegetable. Now, a study was published in 2016 in Food Science and Technology that isolated the probiotic lactic acid bacteria in kimchi. They found over 900 strains of lactic acid bacteria in the kimchi samples. And I know it's a lot. That's a lot of lactic acid bacteria strains. And out of those 900, they determined that 4 of those strains had the best probiotic properties. 3 of those strains were Leucanostok, Mesenterides, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, and one of those strains was Lactobacillus plantarum. According to the study, Leucanostok mesenterides is the most important microbe in the first and middle stages of kimchi production. As fermentation continues, that's when Lactobacillus plantarum starts to take over. This is where a lot more acid is produced, which allows Lactobacillus plantarum to become the dominant microbe of the kimchi. Now, this was my first time making kimchi, and the recipe that I used was from Dr. Johnny Drain from the Zero Waste Cooking School channel. So I've got a link to their channel down below. Okay. Now this recipe included cabbage and then any type of waste vegetables that I had in my fridge. And at the time, I had a ton of bitter lettuce, some of which I harvested from my garden after it was starting to bolt, so it was super bitter, and some zucchini, I believe. There might be some other vegetables in here too, but everything was chopped up and then first massaged with salt. Again, remember that salinity is what prevents any spoilage bacteria from coming in and taking over. And then the rest of the ingredients were apple, ginger, garlic, red chili, and red chili powder. And I've got the measurements of that recipe down below that I used. I let this sit on the counter for about a week. I made some rookie mistakes, I'll tell you that. I packed these jars full. I didn't have any fermentation weights to weigh down the kimchi. So I thought, oh, all right, I'll just pack the jars full and let the lid act as the weight. And for those of you who have fermented things before, you're probably shocked to hear me say this, because a byproduct of fermentation, as we know, is CO2, which is gas. So that means you get a high pressure buildup here. But luckily, after about a day, I noticed that one of my jars was severely leaking juice. So it was running out of space and the juice was pouring out of the lid. So yeah, I depressurized those and put them in different jars where they had more headspace. And this kimchi is delicious. The spice level is not too high, but it is there. There's some really good saltiness, a little pickly brine thing, and then lots and lots of ginger and garlic, which are, of course, very delicious. Now, let's see what microbes are in this kimchi. So right away, we can see that there are tons of bacteria. Now they look to be mostly some lactobacillus bacteria. I don't know what types of strains, but maybe some lactobacillus plantarum. And you can tell they're lactobacillus because they're skinny, straight, long. A lot of them are branched together. Typically lactobacillus are no wider than 1 micron, but Lactobacillus plantarum can reach lengths of 3 to 8 microns. And lactobacilli are found all over the place. As I was going through, I was also noticing these kind of larger blobs. Technical term is blobs. They look like they might be some oils. Maybe they're coming from the ingredients in the kimchi. Now, I also spotted these bacteria here that kind of look like they're also linked together end to end, but are much smaller than what I would typically assume to be lactobacilli. And as I was doing some research, I figured out that that's actually what Leucanostalk mesenterides looks like. Now, I cannot confirm for sure that that's what those are, but it's pretty likely that we have Leucanostalk mesenterides right there, which is super cool. The Leucanostalk mesenterides typically is 0.5 to 0.7 microns in thickness, and their length is a little bit longer. It's usually 0.7 up to 1.2 microns. So they're much smaller than the lactobacilli that we see all around the slide here. All right, now I'm gonna stop talking and I'm going to let you enjoy more videos of the bacteria in my kimchi. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Let me know in the comments below if you like my microscope videos, because I really enjoy looking at anything that's fermenting under my microscope, obviously. And before I go, I'm gonna give a huge shout out to the Patreons. Thank you guys so much for helping to support the channel. And if you, the viewer, would also like to join our community over on Patreon, I've got a link in the description below. I'm gonna keep calling them lactobacilli, silly lactobacilli. And then we're singing and dancing and look at them wiggling.